Namaskaram Sadhguru. Couple of days back you spoke in darshan that you or anyone can intervene post-death only if karmic shell has become really thin. But earlier you had mentioned that if one sits with you, there is no coming back for that person. I'm a little anxious. Are you going back on your promise?
Now, you're some kind of a disciple, whoever you are. Instead of telling me, Sadhguru, I will make it as thin as you want, I'll make it as thin as it is needed for you. Instead of that, you're asking me, Sadhguru, you promised then, will you stick to the promise or are you going back? This is the same position that Ananda Tirtha took. Well, this needs to be understood. See, the problem with people is they have taken their individual experience of life rather too seriously. They don't understand that this individual experience that you have of life is just sheer magnanimity of creation, that's all. There is nothing to it. They can just pull the plug anytime. See, right now the virus, you're gone. Today you're fine and tomorrow morning you may be gone. The entire world, nearly the entire world is under lockdown, just an invisible virus. So you understand that's how fragile your individual existence is. At the same time, it is built in such a way that it can last and persist. Its persistence, how persistent this individual life is, simply depends upon how identified it is with its individual self. And the fundamental the structures which form an individual life. See, you as a life, you're essentially a life, then a body, then a little bit of mind. Out of this combination, you become a person. Because you become a person, you got a whole lot of stuff in the world. You have a home, you have a family, you have this, you have that, you even have a guru. Full. All the accessories you have, full on. But you need to understand you're essentially a piece of life. When it comes to body, we can say, this is my body, that's your body. When it comes to the structure of our mind, I can say, this is my mind, that's your mind. But when it comes to life, there is no such thing as my life and your life. It is one great phenomena of life happening. You can capture a little and claim it is mine, or you can continuously enhance the volume of life. You can only enhance it if you are not identified with the little that you have gathered. Little that you gathered is because of variety of parameters. Just by the privilege of birth, then with growth, some may grow, some may not grow. I'm saying as life, body grows, mind grows, activity grows, but this life become more? Depends on many things. If you capture a little bit of life and get identified with that, you will just stay as that. You say you're a spiritual seeker. I also believed you as you believed me. When when I said, after you came and sat and you said, Sadhguru, we're really seekers, we're genuine, then I said, if you sit with me, this is it for you. So are you going back on your promise that you're a seeker? If you are a seeker, that means you're always seeking. You're not just identified with what you have. If that is so, if this life keeps expanding, the karmic structure becomes thinner and thinner. If you really allow it to expand, it'll become flimsy. I said, if you make it very thin and flimsy, it'll be easy for me. But now you're holding me on my promise. Doesn't matter, Sadhguru, I'm thick as a ball, but you promised. I am not going back on my promise, let me explain the process to you. After that you choose whether you want to be thick or thin. This question is coming because a little thick here also, I think. Thick means strong, you know. The most popular, maybe popular is not the word, most prevalent nut in Isha Yoga Center is the ground nut. I took back the word popular, prevalent. So, a groundnut is not really a nut. It's a legume, it's not really a nut. But because it grows in the ground and it needs some protection, nature gave it a nice shell. Because it has a shell, it is pretending to be a nut, just like you. It's not really a nut, but acts like one. So, throughout your entire life, you can go about like a real nut, which most people manage to do. But what death means is, they crack the nut. Death is a nutcracker. So the shell is cracked, physical body and this mind has come apart. But you know, it has an inner layer of protection. You have seen that little papery, thin, another layer on the ground nut. It's called testa. This is very important. As long as this is there, though the outer shell is broken, once again it can sprout, become a plant and again become… one nut will become many nuts. See? They say there were only two nuts, Adam and Eve. Look at you now. So, this one nut, if you leave that skin, it can sprout and become many nuts. Those many nuts again will go through the same process and become many, many nuts. So, what I promised you is that when the time comes, this thin layer, papery layer, I will skin it for you. If you are well soaked, simply easily we can remove. If you're not well soaked, I have to use my nails and do. If you want that, I will do. It hurts, that's all. If I forcefully remove a layer from you, it will hurt. But if you have soaked it nicely and it become loose, then simply if I touch it, it'll come away. That choice is yours. I said if it's become really thin, very easy, it'll come off. Now if you remove this cover, still there is a nut. Only thing is, it cannot sprout anymore. Once you remove this such a fragile, papery thin cover, if you remove, after that, it becomes incapable of sprouting. Because it's a dicotyledon and it becomes two, and after that, it cannot sprout. The fundamental mechanics of re-sprouting is taken away simply because this thin layer was peeled. I said, if you sit with me for a moment, this doesn't mean you just came and sat here and left. It means you really, maybe sit was not the word, if you be with me, maybe I should have said. I believed if you're here, you're with me, because I'm like that. When I'm here with you, I'm here with you, I'm no other way. I believed you're also like that, and I said, if you sit with me, then you come and sit there like this, okay, I sat, what happened? What can I do? So, anyway, I'm not going back on my word. If you really sat with me, if you were being with me for a moment, it's a mechanism that naturally the peel will come off. Whether it'll come off effortlessly or little painfully, that depends on you, but it'll come off. But the nut is still there, cannot sprout, but hangs around. This is the promise we made, that we will see you don't sprout back again. But 2 days ago when we were talking about totally dissolving something. For dissolution, without some cooperation, no. Preventing you from sprouting back again so that no more nuts come out of you, well, I promised you I'll stick to the promise. But I thought we will raise your aspiration. Instead of just not sprouting, you are able to, when you're freshly dead, we were talking about post-death only, right? Yes, the other day? Okay. When you're alive, if you do it, it's most fantastic, but you could not, you worked on it, became loose, but still could not. So you are freshly dead. Maybe that's a wrong terminology, but I like to use it. Freshly born, freshly dead. So, when you're freshly dead, at that time, to completely dissolve is a good possibility. So whether you will let me do that or just take away the peel so that you cannot sprout and take your own time to dissolve, but cannot take on one more body, that I promised you I will stick to that. Now I was upping my promise. I am upgrading my promise, not taking away the promise, I am upgrading the promise, not just not sprouting. Dissolution itself can be done if only you are in a mode of cooperation. You think being like a rock like this and you want to dissolve, how to dissolve a rock? It'll take million years. Not that a rock cannot be dissolved, it will take a million years. But if you become sweet like sugar, or at least like salt, within minutes, we can dissolve you. That's all I was saying, not going back on the promise.